Women tend to subscribe to the notion that if we love each other, everything will just work out. The minute you start emotionally investing in someone and your heart is involved, there can be a lot of heartbreak. What you want to do is get to the truth of another human being. So we should be curious and cultivate questions to actually get to know someone.
Welcome to The Vibrant Couple. Today I have invited Jonathon Aslay, who is a dating and relationship coach primarily to women. And if I understand well, one of the things you do particularly well is you help women get basically men to commit to them.
I don't know if I can make them do that, but certainly I encourage women to set the standards, set their own standards and boundaries with men that actually shifts male behavior when a person is in their sovereignty, that sort of thing. So yes, I do that.
Wonderful. And so we are going to have three wisdom bombs for our conversation. The first one is about men's commitment to commitment. So please say more.
We've shifted from life partnership type of relationships to casual relationships. I would venture to say, at least here in the United States, casual relationships make up the bulk of most relationships, which includes marriage and or those people living together. Now, that's purely anecdotal on my part. But casual relationships don't have a destination. They're not rooted in building trust, because I think what's shifted, particularly for men in midlife, and the demographic I speak to is midlife, which I say is after baby making years and before retirement, a significant percentage of men and women in this demographic is divorced. And divorced not only comes with it the unraveling of your tapestry with your life with another human being, but there's a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty that somebody wants to commit to another human being, especially from a financial perspective. So when I talk about committed to commitment, I believe that when we men and women choose to focus on a life partnership based type of relationship instead of something that's casual, and casual is just simply, companionship, connection, and sex, but it's not rooted in something long term. I think when you're committed to commitment, then you're looking at somebody with the lens of, could this be a life partner for me? Now, when I was in my 20s, I was very rooted in looking for the wife, the mother of my children, okay? So when I was actually in the dating marketplace, if you will, I was looking at someone from the lens of, could this be the mother of my children? And she was doing the same thing too, right? Well, let's see, the father to her children. But when you're in midlife, it's not the same. Like, there's no real destination. So if you're not committed to commitment, and you're not committed, if you don't have a long-term mating strategy, you have a short-term mating strategy, this leads to a lot of frustration. This leads to casual relationships, situationships, hooking up, friends with benefits, that sort of thing. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? There's really nothing wrong with it, except for the minute you start emotionally investing in someone and your heart is involved, there can be a lot of heartbreak when you've invested in someone emotionally and it doesn't go the distance. It ends in some sort of calamity. And I think men in particular, I think if they adopted, I'm committed to commitment, not just seeking physical connection with someone, they might actually start having a more enjoyable experience instead of finding themselves going from one person to the next to the next.
The couples I work with are more in the serial monogamy type of situation in which they many have been divorced, hopefully only once, and then they want or they are in a second or third long-term relationship. And so what I'm hearing is that you invite your clients to look for that man who wants more, who wants deeper, who wants more emotional investment, even if it's not financial, but at least through a committed relationship.
when someone says, I just want something casual, I don't want something serious, I just want to go with the flow and live in the moment. Well, sure, that's a very childlike way of operating in relationship, just to live in the moment and have, I mean, I'm going to say it's childlike. Because the minute you begin investing in someone emotionally, there is an attachment that can occur. So what I encourage my clients is look for the men who are committed to commitment. They want a serious relationship. Now, that doesn't have to mean legal marriage, okay? We seriously want to build a life together, whether it's in our own individual homes or in a shared home. And quite frankly, you know, it's from a financial perspective, it's better to merge with someone's life, together to cut, if nothing else, the housing, expense associated with two people can live cheaper than one. But again, it's that person whose mindset is desirous of a serious, fully committed relationship versus let's just see where it goes. Let's keep it casual. Let's not put any pressure on ourselves. Well, you don't have to put pressure on the other person. Just be committed to commitment is my invitation, certainly for women to pay attention to. But those men out there, I'm going to tell you something. If you're committed to commitment, you're not going to be choosing the next best shiny object. You're actually approaching it from a vantage point of like, I want to build a life with somebody.
I totally agree. So I make the assumption that in your practice, you've developed some sort of a test or an assessment of the level of commitment of the men that the women you're working with are seeking. So how do you define that somehow range, at the low end, don't sleep with other women. And then so what do you have? What steps do you have?
Oh my gosh. So one of the things in my private coaching is something called radical honesty, pre-qualifying your prospect. The idea is to ask deeper questions in the early stages of getting to know someone. So a couple deep questions might look like this. What does a relationship look like for you? Like, what does it look like? And I mean, pull out a calendar and say what it looks like on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, what do you envision it looks like? Now, a lot of men are deer in the headlights. They're just winging it. They're like, I don't know, they're not visualizing it. But anybody who wants to be successful in their business, they usually visualize, they have a mission statement, they have a plan of what they want their business to be. And I think we should be no less in our relationship life. So to envision, what does it look like for you? Like do it on a weekly, monthly basis. Like, how often do you expect to see someone? Do you not expect, or do you desire someone to go on vacations with you? Desire to integrate your lives with children and family members and friends and social gatherings and hobbies and mutual interest and that sort of thing. So have a conversation about what it looks like. And again, the guys that are deer in the headlights, it's like, look, it's time to grow up. It's time to actually contemplate this because this is important.
My hunch is that the content of the answer is as important as the reactivity to the answer. So if a man is very willing to answer those questions and is actually turned on by it, that's a maybe even stronger sign of commitment than what he does on Mondays and Tuesdays.
It's fascinating to me. So my clients, I put them through these exercises and workbooks. So there's a lot of journaling involved. And I go, look, when a man likes you, if a man likes you, he wants to see you beyond just the physical, I want to have sex with you. I encourage my clients to pull out their workbook and show the men the questions to ask. Now, a man who's genuinely interested, a man who has a long-term mating strategy, he's going to go, wow, these are great questions. Let's talk about it. The man with the short-term mating strategy is, oh, let's just keep it casual. That's a little too intense. Let's keep, like, he'll create distance. That's a clue right there. Someone who lacks curiosity, I believe, lacks imagination. and it takes a level of imagination to navigate relationships today, to look beyond the surface and let's go be a little bit more in depth. Now, a couple other questions to ask is, what does commitment mean to you? And what does commitment look like for you? Like, have these conversations. But some people will say, Jonathan, that sounds like an interview process. And I'm like, listen, the minute two people are considering kissing one another, not sex, kissing one another, that's a very intimate act. If two people are considering kissing, I don't think you should interview people. I think you should interrogate people. Now, did you see me do that with a big, gigantic smile? An interrogation simply means getting to the truth. That's what an interrogation is. You want to get to the truth. Now, you don't do it in a combative way, in a hierarchy type of way, but what you want to do is get to the truth of another human being. So we should be curious and cultivate questions to actually get to know someone beyond, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day type of questions. So these are just a few of the things I encourage my clients to begin. But it first starts with knowing who's really compatible with you. Like understanding your own life. Like knowing what your values are. Like, what are my core values? What, besides honesty, integrity, and trust and respect, like, what are your core values? And when you have a clarity on that, then search someone who shares your values as step number one. Number two, it's also looking at your lifestyle. For those of us over 40 years old and 50 and 60s, our lifestyles are rather grooved in a certain way. I witnessed so many women in particular, they will pretzel themselves to morph into a guy's life when, quite frankly, that could be a recipe for disaster. It's about how can you blend lives together? How can you merge your family, your friends, your activities, the things that matter most to you with another human being? And I witnessed people like going out on third dates with someone whose lifestyle is so incompatible. And yes, you see, women tend to subscribe to the notion that if we love each other, everything will just work out. Like magic fairy dust somehow comes from the ceilings and makes incompatibility compatible if there's love. And that is the furthest thing. That can be the furthest thing from the truth. But here's the kicker. This is the hardest thing to figure out in another human being. And that is emotional maturity and relationship skills. At least I can only speak for the United States, but we are a population of walking wounded here on an emotional level with poor relationship skills. And do you know how I know this? 50% of first marriages end, 65% of second marriages end, and 75% of third marriages end. And I'm going to tell you something, it's because we humans aren't good at it. And most have weak emotional maturity and poor relationship skills.
Coming back to commitment, what seems the best man that your clients would be looking for would be a man who finds freedom through the commitment?
Yeah, that's beautifully said. There is such freedom when we not adopt, but when we invite in that a committed relationship is a beautiful thing. Life partnership is a beautiful thing, and I understand there are a lot of people who are scared. Look, you've been hurt in the past. You've had disappointing experiences. Certainly dating today is a gigantic mess with online dating and such, because we're meeting total strangers in many cases. We don't know the person's values. We don't know their backstory. We don't have even friends that we can associate with those people. So I understand the frustration. But there's a real freedom because you know what? I think most humans want to be loved. And they want to give love too. I really do believe that. It may not seem that way for some of you out there, but I'm going to tell you I believe. But a lot of people are scared. They're scared that their sovereignty will be lost in a relationship. And when you're in the right relationship, you actually gain sovereignty. But I understand that, and what I mean by sovereignty, that freedom to be your own person. And sadly, actually, women have a propensity to give their power away to men, and men abuse that power in some cases for their own myopic gains.
We seem to be on the same page that everyone wants love. The key components are emotional intelligence and a compatible partner that has, a similar life project.
Yeah, absolutely. We're on the same page there.
Such a powerful conversation. Thank you, Jonathan. Please hit the like button below, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified when I publish part 2, part 3, and other juicy videos. In the interim, I invite you to watch these 2 videos Jonathan made to help men and women better relate with each other, and 2 I made. I look forward to seeing you very soon.